Famous Caucasian Crip rapper Ginn Lee was born in Bedford, which is a suburb outside of Dallas, Texas. He was born March 3, 1998, which would make him 27 years old at the time this video was recorded, although most of Bedford is considered to be pretty safe. According to national crime statistics, Bedford received a B- grade and is 2% safer compared to the national average. But according to all accounts, Ginn Lee had a very different experience compared to your average Bedford resident. Ginn Lee grew up southeast of Highway 183 in eastern Bedford, which is by far the most dangerous part of Bedford.
Was fatally shot in a grocery store parking lot.
Tape. The Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office has identified the victim as 28-year-old Sam Smith of Halton City.
Because Bedford is in the state of Texas, which has some of the most relaxed gun laws in the entire country, almost all the residents in this area are strapped up, and a simple argument can turn deadly.
5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, Smith and another man were seen arguing here in the parking lot. Police say they may have been arguing over a fender bender or a dent on one of their vehicles. That confrontation turned violent as shots were fired. And at this point, police have not clarified if both men were armed, but Smith shot several times, taken to the hospital where he died.
As you can imagine, because of the area where Ginn Lee grew up from a young age, he familiarized himself with how to properly handle firearms. This kind of upbringing helped shape the man he would later become. Like many young men who get pulled into gang life, Ginn Lee's early years were marked by pain and instability. He grew up dirt poor and was surrounded by nothing but substance abuse, extreme poverty, and addiction. While Ginn Lee was coming of age in some of the roughest parts of Dallas, his father was nowhere to be found. Not in any meaningful way, at least. And when he was around, he only brought chaos and trauma. By all accounts, Ginn Lee's father was the kind of man who chose money, power, and control over his own blood. Instead of stepping up to support his son and the woman who brought him into this world, he dipped, leaving them broken, and trying to survive in the trenches. Ginn Lee's mom had to raise him on her own while battling poverty and pain in a neighborhood filled with violence, addiction, and struggle. Meanwhile, his father was out living a double life, quietly becoming a millionaire and building a successful club empire in Dallas nightlife. The same man who had left his family behind in the hood was now profiting off bottle service and VIP sections, acting like he didn't have a son out there growing up with nothing. But the story goes even darker. In a rare and emotional moment, Ginn Lee once revealed that his father actually tried to kill both him and his mother. That's not some metaphor or exaggeration. That's how toxic and dangerous their relationship had become. In a legendary interview posted to Texas Buzz, he goes in depth about the crazy situation involving his father.
Yeah, oh, your daddy's a millionaire. Yeah, all of this shit. Man, I'm gonna bring my mama on one of these interviews, man. I'm not even gonna talk about this man no more. He don't deserve nothing. My biological father he don't get nothing from me. My daddy might be a millionaire. I ain't talked to him in 3 years. My grandpa, I talk to him every other years. You know that, bro? My dad trying to kill me in my mama's stomach when, man, come on, bro. It's deeper than just, your daddy's Nah, bro. It's real life. It ain't all just, fairy tales.
Ginn Lee's relationship with his father is one of the darkest and most controversial chapters of his life story. One that shaped the man he became and the pain he still carries. While Rainwater and others have made headlines claiming that Ginn Lee's father is a wealthy, successful club owner in Dallas, the truth is much uglier than the surface-level rumors suggest. Growing up, Ginn Lee didn't live in luxury. He didn't have access to money, guidance, or stability. Instead, he was raised by a single mother who struggled to keep a roof over their heads, while his father was out living lavishly, raking in millions from his thriving nightclub business. Ginn and his mom were left behind to suffer in the trenches of the hood, broke, forgotten, and surrounded by violence, addiction, and despair. Without a real father figure to guide him, Ginn Lee did what so many young men in America are forced to do. He went looking for one in the streets. The older dudes in the neighborhood, the gang members, the street legends, they became his role models. They were the ones who gave him attention, who showed him how to move, who taught him what it meant to survive. And in the absence of love and support at home, those street ties felt like family. But that kind of loyalty comes with a price. And for Ginn Lee, that price was blood, pain, and a lifetime of navigating a world that never offered him peace, only war. His story isn't just about a rapper on the rise. It's about a young man betrayed by his own blood, forced to carve out a name for himself in a world that tried to erase him before he even got started. When Ginn Lee and his mom were forced to move to Pleasant Grove, Texas, that's when things really took a turn for the worse. Pleasant Grove wasn't just the backdrop to Ginn Lee's childhood. It was the battlefield that built him. A place where being soft could get you stomped out, and where survival wasn't a story. It was the rule. From age 10 and up, he wasn't getting into kid fights. He was throwing fists with teenagers, grown men, people who looked at him like he didn't belong. He says there were times when someone would press him in front of a group just for fun, just to see if he'd crack under pressure, and if he got jumped, they didn't care. You could come back with a busted lip or a black eye, and the next day they'd line you up for another one. It never stopped. One story he told was about getting jumped by 5 dudes behind an apartment complex. After getting stomped out, he went home, cleaned up, and came back the next day ready to fight again. It wasn't about winning. It was about showing that you weren't going to fold. And eventually, that earned him something money couldn't buy: street respect. Ginn says his mom did everything in her power to hold it together. And sometimes that meant working at gentlemen's clubs as a dancer in order to pay bills. That wasn't a secret in their household. It was survival. There were times when all they could afford was a single cup of juice from the corner store, which they'd fill with ice and split between them. That was dinner. That was how they lived. In the winter, they didn't have working heat. He remembers having to boil water on the stove just to pour it in the bathtub. That was how they bathed. No hot water, no hot meals, just grind. He's talked about nights where the power was out and they used candles to see, where they'd have to hang towels over the windows because the cold wind cut through the house like a blade. They moved constantly. Sometimes they'd get evicted. Sometimes the rent would go up and they couldn't afford it. Sometimes things would get too hot in the area. Fights, shootouts, neighbors beefing, and they'd have to leave just to avoid the drama. He remembers staying on couches, living in borrowed bedrooms, moving in with friends or extended family, always on edge, never knowing when they'd have to leave again. There were nights where he'd sleep with his shoes on, just in case something popped off. Ginn didn't have structure. He had the set. His mom's friends, who he would call his uncles, were Crips. His older friends, they were all part of that world. And from a young age, he was watching how they moved, how they made money, how they handled conflict, how they treated people who didn't belong. By the time he hit his teenage years, he took gang banging to the next level and officially got jumped into the rolling 60s Crips. The blue flags, the lingo, the politics, that life became his. He wasn't banging for views. He was repping what raised him. In an interview, he told a story about carrying a .380 when he was still in middle school. Not because he thought it was cool, but because people were getting shot over dumb stuff every week. He never knew when someone was going to test him, try to rob him, or catch him slipping because he was white. He wasn't even old enough to drive, but he was already moving like someone twice his age. Alert, paranoid, calculated. He kept his blicky in his waistband when he walked to the store. He kept it nearby when he slept. That wasn't for show. That was insurance. There were no role models around, no after-school programs, no guidance counselors, just uncles who were Crips, neighbors who banged, and older homies who taught him how to move in silence. He learned the code early. Don't snitch, don't fold, stay ready, keep your mouth shut. He knew who had rank, who carried weight, who was dangerous. And by the time he was a teen, he was already known. Not as a rapper, but as that white boy who never backed down. He says in interviews that even though he's white, he was still regularly profiled and targeted by the police. It didn't matter that he lived there. To the cops, Ginn looked like someone who didn't belong. He says he was pulled over, searched, and profiled regularly, even while walking to his own home. One time they accused him of being there to buy drugs. Another time they yanked him out of a car, slammed him against the hood, and cuffed him, only to let him go without charges. He spent time in juvie before ever thinking about music. Not for anything big, but enough to learn how easily they could take his freedom if he slipped up even once. In Texas, the police do not play around. It's not just fists or bullets that take people out where Ginn Lee's from. It's the courtrooms, it's the judges, it's the system. Texas is one of the most aggressive states in the country when it comes to prosecution, especially when you're poor, especially when you're tied to a gang. And sometimes the sentences handed down don't just seem unfair. They seem impossible to believe. At just 17 years old, Tyrone Brown robbed someone of $2 at gunpoint. He didn't fire the weapon. He didn't hurt anyone. The court gave him 10 years probation. But when he blew some tree and later tested positive during that probation, a judge used it as an excuse to convert his probation into a life sentence. That's not a metaphor. He got life over weed and a $2 robbery. Less than 10 years ago in Smith County, two young men, Felipe Manuel Nieves Perez and Yoelvis Herrera, were part of a Cuban skimming ring. They stole credit card data from gas pumps and used it to make fraudulent purchases. A crime? Yes. A violent one? No. But under Texas's organized crime statute, Smith County prosecutors argued it qualified for enhanced charges, the same laws used for cartels and prison gangs. The result? One of them was sentenced to life in prison for credit card fraud at 21 years old. This wasn't murder. This wasn't trafficking. It was a white-collar crime, but treated like terrorism. Claude Jones was executed in Texas in the year 2000 for a 1989 murder. At trial, a single hair found at the scene was used to tie him to the killing. That hair was never DNA tested until 2010, 10 years after his death. When it was finally tested, the result was clear. It wasn't his. The one piece of physical evidence used to justify the death penalty, and it wasn't his. Claude Jones was dead, and Texas couldn't take it back. Two members of the Texas Syndicate prison gang, Jesse Martinez and Gabriel Galindo, were sentenced in 2025 for distribution of illegal substances. Both pleaded guilty. Neither case involved violence, but because of gang affiliation, prosecutors used gang enhancement laws to push the sentence up by an entire felony level. Martinez got 30 years. Galindo got 24 years. Some call it justice. Others call it a death sentence in disguise. In Texas, if the state believes your crime was done to benefit a gang, they can upgrade your charges to a higher felony level. That means a non-violent third-degree felony can suddenly become second-degree. Add priors. You're looking at decades, sometimes even life, just for being associated with the wrong group in the wrong zip code. And in areas like Pleasant Grove, that's not hard to fall into. Just being friends with someone who flies a flag can be enough for prosecutors to say you're gang affiliated. These aren't old tales from the Jim Crow era. These are modern-day cases, many from the same cities Ginn Lee came up in: Dallas, Tyler, Laredo, Corpus Christi. In Texas, you don't just do time. The time does you. Ginn Lee was never a saint. But in Texas, being young, broke, gang-affiliated, and white doesn't give you privilege. It gives you a target on your back. One wrong move, one wrong person in the car, one bad decision, and the system will bury you. That's what he was up against, long before rap ever gave him a voice. After surviving a traumatic childhood and joining the Rolling 60s, Ginn Lee's story only gets darker and louder. What follows is a chaotic timeline of public beefs, street fights, racial backlash, and internet fame. This is the second chapter of his war with the world. The controversy that put Ginn Lee in headlines started with a single word, one he never shied away from. In early interviews, Ginn openly used the N-word while talking, rapping, and storytelling. But it wasn't until he said it on camera during a live stream that the blowback hit hard. A viral video shows him being confronted by 607 Unc, a respected older black figure who demanded Ginn explain himself.
I'm fighting for the word that people used to say back in the day.
No, I see, like I'm saying, like, you know how,
like, it just like,
people don't want you saying it, period.
Right.
And you grew up saying it.
Just
but
like,
it's
you know,
people like Adam 22 that want to say it and can't say it.
This wasn't just disrespect, this was defiance. Some fans from the streets defended him, saying he had the pass from his hood. Others weren't having it. The clip started circulating on Instagram pages like Say Cheese and No Jumper Daily, and the backlash was immediate. Ginn refused to apologize. He doubled down in later interviews. He's quoted as saying, "Y'all mad at me for how I talk? Go cry about it. I didn't grow up in the suburbs. I grew up in Crip territory. If you wasn't there, don't tell me what I can say." This marked a turning point. Ginn Lee wasn't just some Dallas rapper. He was now a public target in conversations about race, authenticity, and culture appropriation. In the months following the N-word controversy, Ginn's name stayed in the streets, and not for music. A video surfaced showing a violent stabbing inside a jewelry mall.
You ain't got enough 50 feet. Go ahead. Go ahead, yeah. I bet you want
I just whooped Ginn Lee. I just whooped Ginn Lee in the mouth just now. I just whooped this. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. You just got whooped. Every time Ginn Lee want to get active, man, I get phone calls from this person, that person, bro over there from that side. Man, quit calling me and get active, bro. I'm talking about any and every situation I done been in since the rap star. They want to call my phone, tell me to calm down. Get active, bro. To call me out for a fade. Don't even want a fade booze. You ain't want that scratch with Poncho. But you gonna go on No Jumper talking about Ginn Lee. Man, last talk on me what he did. Went on live and apologized. Oh, he the homie, he the this, he the that. Man, quit playing with me. You play with my name and you gonna find out who I am for real. 6-0, Crip. Oh yeah, Adam, one more thing too, man. If you keep bringing my name up, bro, just bring me up there, bro. You want me up there so bad. You keep bringing my name up to these man. You put me in their face. What you talking about? Here go Ginn Lee right here. Y'all got a problem with what he say and what he do? Yeah, do it that way. What you talking about?
Details vary depending on who you ask, but Ginn himself later broke it down. He says he was inside the spot when he beat up an op. Then his wife came to the rescue and pulled out a knife and stabbed him in broad daylight. Footage from the aftermath shows Ginn bleeding but refusing to fall. He later went live to speak on it. They got me, yeah, but I was standing. I ain't run, I ain't cry. I walked up out of there. That's what makes me different. Internet trolls tried to clown him, saying he got caught lacking. But for many fans, it proved his stripes. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't ducking smoke. He took a knife and kept moving. Unfortunately, not long after the first situation went down, another one popped off between FDA and Ginn Lee. Their beef started online. FDA accused Ginn Lee of being a poser, a fake white Crip using the internet to build fame off the culture. Ginn clapped back instantly, calling FDA a hater who could never walk where I walk. But then it turned real. The two ran into each other at another Dallas mall, and that's when things exploded. A now viral video shows Ginn Lee squaring up, but before anything can land, FDA sprays him directly in the face with mace. That man ain't wanna fight, Ginn said later. He came with pepper spray. That should tell you everything. Ginn was seen stumbling back, wiping his eyes, screaming as his crew pulled him out of the situation. That moment became one of the most watched Dallas altercations of the year. It wasn't just beef, it was humiliation caught on tape. And Ginn knew it. Instead of hiding, he owned the L and called FDA soft for not throwing hands. During the height of his internet fame, Ginn Lee got the attention of Adam22, the face of No Jumper. At first, it seemed like a huge win. Adam gave him airtime, reposted his clips, and even referenced him on live streams. But it didn't last. Ginn later revealed that he felt used by Adam. According to him, once the views and controversy started dipping, Adam stopped responding and cut off all communication. I ain't stupid. He used my face, my name, my trauma, and dipped. That's what the industry do. This sparked a second wave of backlash, not just against Adam, but against the entire No Jumper platform, which had already been criticized for exploiting street culture. For Ginn, it was just another reminder that the streets show more loyalty than the media ever will. With pressure coming from every angle, street beef, industry betrayal, and online backlash, Ginn Lee hit the internet with a new claim. He started bragging in interviews how he made 70 grand in only one day. He never gave specifics. No one knows if it came from music, merch, streams, or something less legal. But he said it with his chest, and fans ran with it. Whether it was cap or not, the message was clear. Y'all hate me, but I'm still up. In an older but lesser-known interview, Ginn opens up about being in a mall shooting involving a rapper named Zeddy Wayne. During that chaos, Ginn says the police profiled him, pointing guns at him and treating him like a suspect even though he had nothing to do with it. In an interview, he said they had assault rifles on me. I was just in the wrong place, but they saw a white boy hanging out with gang members and thought I was the one. That stuff traumatized me. This event added to his mistrust of law enforcement and his belief that even as a white man, growing up around gangs and dressing a certain way made him a target. As of now, Ginn Lee is still at the center of controversy. His clips still go viral. His name still stirs arguments about race, authenticity, gang culture, and who gets a pass. He hasn't backed down, but he's also not blind to the pressure. You can see it in the later interviews, the exhaustion, the frustration. He's been stabbed, maced, berated, and canceled, and he still shows up. But now the question is shifting. Can Ginn Lee make music that lasts beyond the drama? Or is he forever locked in a loop? Another street name turned into nothing but clickbait. The storm didn't end when the cameras cut off. This chapter dives into what happened after the controversies, the shifting alliances, business moves, family fallout, and the internal pressure of keeping it all together as the streets, internet, and music industry watched from the sidelines. The FDA pepper spray incident left Ginn Lee humiliated in public, but his next move wasn't rage. It was silence. For nearly 2 weeks, Ginn vanished from social media. No new clips, no interviews, no live streams. Fans started speculating. Was he ducking? Was he regrouping? Was he plotting revenge? Behind the scenes, according to close affiliates, Ginn was recovering from the effects of the mace, which had caused temporary vision issues, dealing with legal pressure, as mall security and Dallas PD had launched an investigation into the altercation, and most of all, reassessing who in his circle was really loyal. Everybody love you when it's up. But when I needed help, they dipped. That taught me more than any beef ever could. Ginn Lee in a live stream weeks later. This marked the beginning of a different version of Ginn Lee. Less loud, more surgical. He wasn't done with the drama, but he was more calculated now. During this quiet period, rumors started circulating that OGs from Ginn Lee's Rolling 60s set in Texas were not happy with Ginn's behavior. Multiple blog pages reported that local Crip affiliates had allegedly reached out to check him for 2 things: using the N-word publicly after being told not to, putting the set in internet drama they didn't co-sign. Along with that, a lot of his old homies felt like he had gone Hollywood on them and was not breaking off enough bread for the hood. This moment tested Ginn's street credibility. He wasn't just dealing with haters now. He was possibly at odds with his own. But instead of folding, Ginn went live and made it clear. In the live stream, he said, "Ain't nobody ever checked me, nobody ever put hands on me. If I was out of line, my OGs would have told me. I ain't no fake Crip, I'm certified." That line became a soundbite. His fans clipped it, posted it, reposted it. Whether you believed him or not didn't matter. The way he stood on it kept him trending. After months of speculation, Dallas rap manager Rainwater, known for managing MO3 before his death, finally commented on Ginn Lee in a surprise IG Live Q&A. Rainwater revealed that he knew Ginn's father, calling him a millionaire club owner, and claiming he used to book strippers, artists, and celebrities back in the day. He then took the disrespect up a notch and started cracking jokes on what Ginn Lee's mom used to do for work to support her family. In an interview, he says, "Ginn's pops, he was rich, big club money. The boy wasn't broke. I know him in real life. Some of my older homeboys cracked his mom." This sent shockwaves through Ginn's fan base. It confirmed what he'd been saying all along. His father was wealthy but abandoned him and his mother in poverty. Ginn responded calmly during a live stream. "Everything Rainwater said, facts. I ain't never lied about it. I could have had that life, but I ain't never been handed nothing. I took the long road." This moment helped rehumanize Ginn. For the first time in a while, the story wasn't about beef. It was about pain. And fans started viewing him less like a villain and more like a survivor. By this point, Ginn Lee's internet presence had become a war zone. On one side, younger fans, especially from street backgrounds, stood behind him. They praised his confidence, real-life altercations, and the way he never ran from confrontation. On the other side, older fans, cultural critics, and mainstream commentators began to fully reject him. They pointed to his use of the N-word, his aggressive tone, and accused him of using trauma for clout. Throughout 2024 and into 2025, Ginn Lee continued dropping music, And unlike many clout-driven artists, he did it without major features, label support, or industry cosigns. Songs released in this period include BTA on FDA, which was a direct diss tied to his beef, and the song received 139,000 views. Rap for Real, which received 81,000 views, and Casket, which got 20,000 views. These weren't commercial smashes, but they showed one thing. Ginn Lee never stopped working. He kept recording, uploading, and pressing the gas. The numbers might not have matched the drama, but the music never stopped. On Instagram Live, he is quoted saying, "I ain't here to play the industry game. I'm gonna keep dropping, even if it's just me and my fans. That's enough." As the pressure mounted, Ginn began showing signs of emotional exhaustion in his tone and content. In one of his most honest moments, he admitted, "Some days I don't even want to get up. All these people talking about me, none of them know what I've been through. I don't got a daddy to call. I don't got no label to protect me. It's just me." He also confirmed that he and his father were still not speaking, despite Rainwater's interview reigniting public interest in their broken relationship. By mid-2025, some fans started noticing a pattern in how Ginn moved. He wasn't always loud. He would go silent, drop content, then explode again. It became clear he was playing the internet back. Use the drama to draw attention, drop a real track during peak visibility, disappear and let the content speak. As of late 2025, Ginn Lee remains one of the most polarizing figures in underground rap. He's respected by some, hated by others, but ignored by no one. He's turned down major interviews. He's clashed with platforms. He's made enemies out of influencers, local media, and cultural critics. But he's also built a loyal, ride-or-die fan base that refuses to let his name die. After the FDA pepper spray incident and the N-word confrontation with 607 Unc, Ginn Lee's name was still flashing across the internet. Then came a pivotal moment. Wack 100, whose opinions carry weight in hip-hop and street circles, publicly weighed in. During an episode of The No Jumper Show, Wack was asked about Ginn using the N-word, and he stamped his name in the streets and said he was cool with it because he was being genuine, and because Ginn Lee grew up around blacks. This was not criticism, it was validation. Instead of dismissing Ginn, Wack recognized his authenticity. The moment quickly went viral, clipped on TikTok and Instagram, reposted by pages like No Jumper Podcast and reaction channels. Wack didn't stop there. In follow-up commentary, he expressed that Ginn wasn't trying to fake anything. He was speaking from his lived experience. That turned the narrative upside down for many who dismissed Ginn as a culture vulture. Now, Wack 100, a major gatekeeper, had essentially said, he can say that word and he earned it. Wack's statement had immediate ripple effects. Among street-aligned listeners, it confirmed that Ginn's use of gang culture and language wasn't just performative. Critics and commentators who once framed him as disrespectful or disingenuous had to reconsider, even if begrudgingly. Reels and social media exploded. A TikTok quoting Wack's line got over 1.7K likes, with fans texting screenshots to each other. No Jumper's repost buzzed on X, with sharp debates in the thread. Many fans scribbling lines like, "Wack said what he said. Stop capping on Ginn." This clip, pulled from an early 2025 No Jumper episode, reshaped the narrative. Blogs that once labeled Ginn a clout chaser started asking if he was actually the first white rapper to ever get that level of street pass from someone like Wack. You gotta understand, some of these white boys done been through the mud, and that's one of them, is a direct quote from Wack when he was asked about Ginn Lee. Instagram pages like A Rap Alert, iDaily Wrap Up Crew, and A Real Tune TV reposted the clip. TikTok stitches started popping up, most defending Ginn, some still criticizing him. As the headlines fade and the internet turns its gaze elsewhere, Ginn Lee remains caught between fame and fallout, ambition and survival. He's no longer just a viral white rapper from Dallas. He's a case study in what happens when street loyalty, digital chaos, and real trauma collide in public. In mid-2025, multiple promoters in the Dallas-Fort Worth club scene quietly confirmed what fans had been speculating. Ginn Lee wasn't getting booked, not because he didn't draw a crowd, but because he was a liability. Behind closed doors, clubs feared fights breaking out at events tied to his name. opposition showing up armed with blickies ready to catch a body, and all this fear was from all of his viral altercations. One promoter anonymously told a regional blog, "He brings numbers, but he brings tension too. We can't risk a packed room turning into a headline." This explains why, despite having a loyal fan base, Ginn hasn't done a public headlining show in Dallas since the FDA incident. He's been pushed to private venues, off-grid events, and out-of-state appearances where the crowd is more digital than street-connected. Though rarely mentioned directly, Ginn Lee has quietly become a reference point for younger white rappers navigating hood influence and viral exposure. Several artists, mostly from TikTok or underground platforms, have referenced him in lyrics, quoted his "Who gon' check me" line, used similar aesthetics, blue bandanas and aggressive slang. This has caused some OGs and critics to label him as a gateway to caricature, saying his fame encouraged a new wave of wannabe gangsta influencers. But others push back, saying he didn't invent the wave, he just exposed it. Whether he wanted to or not, Ginn became a symbol of how blurred the lines are between authenticity and performance in 2025 rap culture. Toward the end of his most recent Danza Project appearance, Ginn Lee did something unexpected. He paused mid-sentence and admitted he was tired. At the end of the interview, he said, "Y'all don't even know, bro. It's hard to keep up this face. Some days I don't even know who I'm trying to be anymore." That wasn't just vulnerability. It was an admission that the character of Ginn Lee might have overtaken the person. He followed it up with, "They don't want me to grow. They want me to stay stuck in the mall fight, the FDA beef, the same old clips. But I'm more than that." That moment hit differently. The loud, confident, defiant figure from 2023 had aged. The chaos hadn't broken him, but it had changed him. As of now, Ginn Lee hasn't announced any tour. No new album, no label deal, no reconciliation with his father. But what he does have is rare, complete independence. A loyal following that watches his every move. Cultural relevance, even when he's silent, and undeniable influence on how internet rap moves in 2025. In a genre filled with image over experience, Ginn Lee is one of the few white rappers who actually lived the life he raps about. This isn't speculation. It's documented in his first-hand accounts of getting stabbed in a Dallas mall, the FDA altercation, where he squared up before being maced on camera, constant confrontations on IG Live, YouTube, and in person, and the fact that even his enemies never once questioned whether he would fight. Before Ginn Lee, white rappers had two lanes. Be the lyrical white boy, like Eminem be a viral meme, like Slim Jesus, Lil Windex, or Island Boys Ginn, forced a third category into existence. A white rapper with real gang ties who's actually lived the trauma and isn't afraid to go toe-to-toe with the streets, the culture, or the internet. Hopefully, bro continues on his grind and takes his career to the next level because he is extremely talented and charismatic and has the ability to fully go mainstream.